All right, recording in progress.
Recording in progress.
Recording in progress.
Recording on progress on this side too, though. All right, I'm a little bit bigger right now. Yeah, baby. Here we go. All right. Episode 15.
Is it really episode 15? Wow.
I think so. I mean, that's right, right?
It's been a journey to get here.
Dang, it has. When did we start? When was the first one? When did it come out?
That was episode 1, actually. Was the first
one. We started at 1.
Yeah, we started at 1. And we're all the way at 15. No,
we did the old classic.
It was in October.
Man,
Yeah.
we're coming up on a year.
I'm interested to see what our count can get to in a year. Because I sort of was aware of other things that generally like started around the time of our podcast, random things that I've seen now numbers for going up to like hundreds.
Ooh.
That are like little smaller things, and then there are bigger things obviously that maybe started around that time that only one have happened, like the new Dune movie. Only one of those is coming out.
True.
Screw those guys.
Yeah,
right?
Screw you. Eat my dust, dude.
Yeah. So it's all a matter of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really interested to see where we can get in 1 year.
Did you have any was there a number in your mind of like, I bet in a year I would like for us to have X amount of episodes?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think in my head, I was thinking of it maybe as like a bi-weekly thing, and so like something like 25 episodes was like really optimistic. That was like, if we just like hit every mark, that would be like, man, that thing, like we really had a full year of like hard Right Guys action. And it's like, I'm proud that we've got like what is it, like 8 months now?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I feel like, dude, aim for the moon, land amongst the stars. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. To get. I mean, hopefully we can get 20. I think.
Yeah, I think 20 is huge.
Yeah, that would be huge. And I'm not sure if we will get to that number based on our current schedule, but we'll see. But you know, like you said, landing among the stars, somewhere around there. 15, I feel great about already.
Yeah, and you think about like 20 times average length, like 2.5 to 3 hours. That's a lot of jaw flapping between the two of us.
There's a lot of cheese in there. A lot of cheese in that bite. That bite came with extra cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, this is a fun episode. I want to dive into it.
It is, and maybe we'll just cut everything before this. Who knows? In this episode, we're gonna have a longtime friend of mine, John Marshall, is going to be on the podcast. He's a children's book author. We're going to talk about children's books. We're going to talk about children's story writing. What is a children's story? How can
what makes it one?
Yeah. How can you define that and write that? And sort of the role that they play. And
we've got a new segment, or not a new segment. We're bringing back an oldie but a goodie.
It's too exciting.
All I'm saying is that make sure you've got your defibrillator with you.
This
I'm
one's
not going to say what it's for.
Yeah.
Maybe a shovel is good too.
Mm-hmm.
But we won't say what's happening.
A defibrillator and a shovel.
You should be good for this episode.
You'll be set.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those, then you're out of luck, my friend.
Then what are you doing? What are you doing? You need to prepare yourself better.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we have a guest.
Exactly. And then the challenges from last time.
Yep, absolutely.
The same as the topic, the guest, all that other stuff. It's children's stories.
Yep.
It's to take a story from the Right Guys past and reconfigure it, transpose it into a tale for children.
Yes.
How delightful.
Good luck. But actually, we are already reading over some of them. Like, we had some pretty good stabs at it, and it's going to be fun.
It's honestly maybe my favorite batch of submissions yet.
I can't wait to throw them against John and see what he thinks. You're like, wow, y'all are an interesting group.
We may or may not put him through that.
Okay. All right. Well, here, without further ado, what do you say we dive into old episode 12 or 15? 15
Yes,
it
sir.
is.
It is 15.
Here we
Let's
go. Oh, and here we are.
Hello.
15.
Welcome to episode 15 of Right Guys. And the camera's having trouble focusing on me.
And why is that?
Well, I'm wearing a mask because I have COVID. And I thought since we can't social distance here in the bar, we can't get quite 6 feet apart, I don't think, here.
That's right. That's right. This is good because I'll go on ahead and wear a mask too. Here we go. We're good.
Seems like this may be a problem, though, with the camera. So maybe it's a good time to reveal to people the truth.
I really wanted this to be our episode 100 reveal, but the truth of the matter is coming out in 15th. We're not actually in a bar right now.
This is a virtual environment that we've simulated. So we are safe if I take this mask off.
Yep.
And
But we've revealed the lie.
I am recovering from coronavirus. I'm sorry this episode is coming out late. It's recording late as well. And I've just recovered, and I'm feeling fine now.
Good.
But it was an eventful 3.5 weeks at this point. 3.5 weeks, right?
You've had it for 3.5 weeks?
No, I mean since the last time we recorded an episode.
Oh yeah.
Like I had COVID, but I've already recovered. But I got COVID at my brother's wedding, which also happened.
That's wild.
In the time between, and my brother's wedding, which was great. It was awesome.
Perry,
I'm jumping
Perry's
right into what's
man.
on your mind. There's no time for us to deal with formalities.
I know. Let's just go straight in.
This is what's been on my mind.
Okay,
and
tell me.
So my brother's wedding was great. I had a suit that fit, which I don't know if I told you this story at all, but
no.
The groomsmen, like, obviously you all get the same suit. This is like a whole part of the tradition, and the one that was picked was for us to go to this website where you are supposed to measure yourself and do all your measurements like by hand, and they gave like video instructions, and like who wouldn't, right? Like this is like obviously people trained for years to be able to tailor accurately. And you're asking me to do this for a suit for a wedding that I'm gonna be in, and we're like it was the weirdest thing, because it was like it seemed like such a bad idea that it almost had to work, because it was like everyone who's thought of this thought the same thing that we did, that it wouldn't work, but obviously they're still in business. So it must just like miraculously they've figured out an algorithm or a way to get people to do measurements that is just great,
right?
And like so we kind of did it, but even like it was even worse than I thought, because like I know my sizes. Like I could have put in like my suit size, like I accurately,
and that would have been fine. And if it just showed up as that size, you would have been good.
But like they literally were having us take like measurements of like how many hand widths from my belly button something was.
Not
and, like,
even like,
and like
just,
that's like a
inches?
relative. It's not only is the unit relative, but the point of distance is relative. Like my belly button placement, the size of my hand, like there's no part of that that's tethered to objective reality. It's just like an insulated math equation.
Okay, well then for this next measurement, I need you to grab the nearest pencil.
Yeah.
Could be new, could be used for a few years, and I need pencil lengths for your inseam, please.
Exactly. And so like the suit shows up and it's just this full dress. Like it was like just went down to like below my knees. And they made a suit for like a serpent or like Slender Man or something. And so I brought it into the store, and like they do like their job there is to like this is always part of it is like part 2 is like you bring it in and then they alter it to be like perfect.
So that guy's the magic.
So
the guy who's like, oh no, but he can always pull it together.
Yeah, except when
everyone who walks
mine,
up, he's like, oh no.
Except when I brought mine in, he just said no. He was like, I can't fix this. He was like, we can't make this work. I'm just gonna have to measure you again and order another one. But here's the problem: like, they had told us that these shipments take a long time. Order it. Make sure you order your suits like 6 months in advance because they take forever to ship. So we ordered them in February, and everyone's getting them throughout the months. And like May comes around, and I was like, I still haven't gotten my suit, and everyone else has like they said it could take a long time, but everyone else has gotten theirs, and now it has been a long time, and I still haven't gotten mine. So I reached out, and they were just like, oh, there was just a glitch in the system, and we just never shipped it. And I was like, can you please? And they were like,
all right.
So they
Next
do.
question.
They ship
Will
it
you
late,
ship it?
but it's on the same basis of like these things take a while. And so like now it's just started that in May.
Oh god.
And so like it takes basically another month, which is like a couple weeks before the wedding. So like we're in June now, and the wedding's in June. When the suit arrives, it's June, and I take it in. That was the first one that I already described the process for, taking it in.
Yeah.
And then he said that we can't fix it. We have to order you a new one. And this is already same month. And so the suit came like a week before the wedding, and I called and I kind of bullied them into like letting me take it in and fix it again, because they told me that they couldn't do it. They were like, it's too soon. Like if the second one doesn't fit, then we'll just have to fix it for you after the wedding.
And you're like, no.
Yeah,
it's
and
for
so
the wedding.
I just waited till the next day and called again and was talking to someone else, and I made it clear. I just, like, obviously this is their company's fault, like, for not sending me any of my suits in a timely manner. And so
and having a faulty measuring system.
Yeah. So they did it like overnight, and I got the suit and it fit, and
nice.
it looked great. It was an exciting night. It was a beautiful night. We had so much fun. There was a highlight, like sometimes at things like at weddings specifically, Julia really goes off like the deep end. Like she like in the best possible way. But it's like, she's someone who, I don't know, like I think that a lot of the time I have the capacity to embarrass Julia just with the level or the scale of the lunacy. Something that I will be willing to do at the drop of a hat, like, could really throw her off in public. And like the roles totally reverse in a wedding environment, and not due to me shrinking my capacities in any way.
She just unleashes
purely like a chaotic, almost evil energy, but like an amazing, and it's like she kept, like, obviously the glass clinking thing at a wedding, like, to make them kiss, but like it wasn't enough, I guess, when they were kissing, and she started yelling with tongue, like, and it was like, it's my brother and his new wife, and like she was kind of getting visibly uncomfortable, like the bride, and Julia just got more and more aggressive, and she was getting other people to join in, but at one point she was just screaming it at the top of her lungs, and like I was like kind of hiding my face like at the table, and she was standing up hitting her glass with the knife, and she was just going, with tongue, with tongue, and then it went and she just shattered the glass.
Oh my god, the crescendo.
Yeah. It was like one of the most epic things I've seen at a wedding.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh man. After shattering it, did she sit down just like, okay?
She didn't sit down after that, and
okay.
I stood up at that point and just was holding up the glass.
Everyone look upon the ruin she has wrought.
It was just too perfect.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to Perry, and I'm so stoked for him. That's awesome.
Yeah. He did get COVID as well. Uh, As
Damn.
far as I know, it was like Julia, him, and I are the people who had got COVID at the wedding. We don't know who spread it as of yet. If you
Oh,
did,
man.
please come forward.
Yeah, just come forward already.
Yeah.
Or exile yourself.
You have
And we'll
those
know-
two options.
We'll know by you being the one that we never heard from again.
Yeah.
Oh, man, well, that's good stuff.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I've been
when-
watching. Have you seen The Boys?
Oh, no, I haven't. I'm not up to date.
It's just the best. We went back and watched through the whole show. And I think that, so we're now caught up. The new episode is actually coming out tonight, the night that we're recording this, the season finale. And I'm not going to spoil anything from any season, but this show, and it's the same exact thing that Stranger Things does. It's good at, I think, in a lot of the same ways, because the scenes are just great. You're gripped from scene to scene. It never drops your attention. And I think that's all thanks to the strength of its characters. Every single character is a character that you can care about. You can actually see every character's motivations. There's more to them all. It's like everyone has a complex set of values, and you get to see all their backstories, and they all make sense. And it's just like all the pieces are just moving the way that they would. It just feels like a story playing out in the most logical, realistic sense.
Nice.
And everything is so justified. And it's just really like satisfying to watch. And it's so refreshing to watch something that I care about so consistently.
Yeah, Shane's a big fan of The Boys. He's been telling me to get into it. And then Jenna's brother Justin, he's trying to get me into it also. So it's on my list. I will get to it.
would
Did
love
you ever
it.
watch Peacemaker?
Mm-mm.
Oh, dude, watch Peacemaker. It's
Okay.
so good. It's fun. It's James Gunn's the director, and he's got such cool style.
What
But-
else did he direct? I know the name.
That I can't tell you, not on the spot.
Okay.
But I know that multiple times I've been like, oh, I like him. I think Guardians of the Galaxy.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's up there too with the same things you're mentioning, just like really good character development, and
Yeah.
I've mentioned it a couple of times on here, but you seem to just be really dead set and not watching it, which is fine.
Yeah, dude.
but I'll watch your shows.
Peace,
That's fine.
Peacekeeper, you said?
Yeah, exactly.
What service is it on?
It's Amazon. I don't know. It's Amazon. No, it's HBO Max.
Well, one practical thing that I learned from The Boys, and this is something that I've been like, I don't know. So characters, I think I've always been relatively bad at writing characters in terms of my writing skills. Character is one of the things that I'm not as good at. And
Okay.
it's sad to me because I think it's like the most important part of story. And one of the things I really struggle with is voicing characters differently. Like, all my characters sound the same. Like they sound like the same guy talking. And I've struggled with this so much. And there was a time I can remember like writing my screenplay so specifically wanting my characters to have different voices and like having their set of attributes in my head for each character and going through and being like, these two lines next to each other sound like they're the same character saying them. How can I contrast these by like changing words around? So I would like try to find a word that was more colorful in a way that this character kind of was, or like contract a word or like take out a word or like change. And it was like all little alterations to the same basic template of like saying the thing in the most direct way. So like the dialogue would always be a very practical means of delivering information to the reader, where it's like they're going to spell it out for you. And then you can sort of change those things around to make it fit with the different characters. And that was not a good way to do it. Not good at all. I don't think it's about word choice. It's not about like, oh, this character contracts more words or like they have an accent. So like you always put little apostrophes at the end of, it's not about alterations. It's about like people are so fundamentally different that the way information comes out of someone is like you have to rethink it from the ground up.
Yes.
And the boys showed me this so well, where it's like the characters are so different from each other. And some people will just say information when they're saying something, but then some people will just like, instead of saying no, they'll be like, well, would I take off my shoes and go piss in a pocket where there's too much? And like they'll go like do this whole thing instead of saying the word no.
Yeah,
they're making a grand metaphor, but it's like they're always in this voice that's just drenched in like anger and like nothing that they say isn't disgusting. And it's like
they're kind of absolutes.
Yeah, they're just so colorful, and like there's so much to all of them that like there's no way that they would ever say anything the same way. And it's like evident when you're watching it, and it just feels so natural and real and just contrasts the characters in such a beautiful way.
Do you ever, when you're writing though, in trying to like develop more unique voices from the characters that you already have in your story, like do you ever I know you and I both like to write intuitively and kind of get in the zone and just watch it unfold. I often like, I will peg either a friend I know, someone I know like deeply, or a character in a movie or a character in a show that I just have watched a million times that I just know how they would act. Or I'll take like, it'll be like okay, this person's going to be Andy Dwyer mixed with James Irwin or something like that, like a friend of mine and a character from a show. And then I'll just kind of like, as I'm writing, I'll think about what they would say in that situation. You ever do stuff like that?
I don't think I like really do use templates like mentally, like purposefully or consciously is the word I'm looking for. I don't think I do. I don't think so, but I think I certainly could do it subconsciously. Like, I think every character that I make is in some ways just like a template or like smashed together of like a bunch of different characters I've seen in that role before.
Yeah.
But for me, it really feels like I sort of come up with just this vague idea of like the way this like a new person looks and talks and acts.
Yeah,
and I think that they're usually very basic for me, and like it feels like what I do with a lot of writing and storytelling is like I try to keep the scope of my ambition really tight, and like use basic building blocks to create something more complicated. And so I think I like let my characters a lot of the time be like more basic, thinking that if I tried to make really complicated characters, then it would be like a little too big for my britches. I think it's sort of the opposite effect, where like making complicated characters is just one of the things that makes your story better and better. And so like the more work you put into them, the better it gets. But it's like a fear that I have, I think. I don't know.
Well, I've certainly noticed a change in my character writing, where I would within the first moments of you meeting a character, or certainly the first chapter, I would try to like work in all the nuance of them. Like, who are they? Like let you know them utterly. And that is something I've changed completely over the past year, where now whenever I approach characters, like, you get a little bit of all of them, but at certain moments you gain insight and color to each one of their lives, like a little bit more depth, like, and then whether one comes like from a troubled past, or like they lost their family in a fire or something, like that, whatever it was, like instead of making it so obvious, like making it in like kind of an action or a reaction that they have, or like a look. And then it's like, that has now been like addressed, that there's a little something different over here, and there's a little, and then instead it also, I feel like makes me feel like my reserve for let's say my color reserve for that character is still full. Like, I really haven't told much, but
right.
I've dropped a line in the water that I can return to now because that's set there. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Like, but the story can also progress without getting muddy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I want you to do what's on your mind.
Yeah. So what's been on my mind? Yeah, it's been 3 weeks. It's crazy. Biggest thing that's been on my mind is I started voice acting, and I got to do an audition, and I got my first callback.
Wow, how's that? What is it for?
I don't know. All I know is that it's for a PlayStation game.
Wow.
And it's like the the character, like the description of the voice that they want is like kind of like an outlaw military like grungy voice, you know,
Nice.
like he's seen it all. And yeah, it was fun.
That sounds great for you. Wait, so how did you find out about the job?
So a friend reached out reached out to me on Instagram, who is she's a voice actress, and she does stunts and in film, and she's been doing it for a while. Found me like through a sleeper, and then saw that I had a voice acting reel, and she just DM'd me. I was like, hey, I didn't know you were doing voice acting. That's cool. If you want any pointers, that's what I do. And I was like, oh my God, I could use all the pointers. So we started going back and forth, and I started sending her stuff, and she was like, this is good. Would you mind if I know a couple casting directors that are doing stuff, like, would you mind if I kind of tossed your name in the mix? And I was like, please. And so she did, and I got to take a stab at this one. And I sent it in like the same day that I got it. I like immediately went home and did it. Mm-hmm. And the guy the casting director wrote her back and was like, hey, I definitely want to see a callback from this guy. Who is he? Whatever, blah blah. And she's like, he's totally new. So I'm actually in the midst right now of doing the callback for that.
That's sick.
Yeah, but I got to do that, and I've gotten to do an audition for like a kids show, kind of like a kids show narrator, almost like a Blue's Clues or something like that, or like Dora the Explorer type thing.
Nice.
And so it's been fun. And then I've done like 4 Fiverr jobs. So
wow,
I've been able to do
them under your belt.
Yeah, it's been cool. And then on top of that, I've been really working on different vocal techniques for new sleeper stuff, and specifically focusing on trying to open up my lower volume register of like kind of like the, you know, like what you hear in like deathcore stuff like that, you know, like the like pig squeals and all that, and super high fry vocals and stuff. I've never really given it any attention, but I've been listening, like it's all I've really been wanting to listen to lately. And so through listening to it, I've been like, I could do that, and messing around with it. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun.
That's cool that you're like throwing yourself into the midst of what you're excited about as a listener.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's always exciting.
That's what I found I've got to do. I've got to write where I'm at right now, and I've got to pursue technique in something that is interesting to me right now. Like everything's got to be fresh to get me coming back to the table.
Yeah, I'm in a weird place with writing. We'll talk about that on my writing podcast. Because I haven't been songwriting for a while. I've been in the phase I've been wanting to record, and so I've been doing recording for stuff, and so I've been like trying to be in kind of a different phase than I was in like months ago with Right Guys. It's frustrating for me because it's what think I'm really good at. Like it's like my favorite part of the process, and so like I'm doing it like randomly, like working on like little things, and I'm still doing the challenges for this obviously, and but I've only been writing little things for like music here and there, but I'm I'm really jealous. Like hearing about you talking about the things that you're into listening to right now and then into writing, because now I'm listening to stuff that I haven't written before. And like,
oh yeah,
like,
yeah, I see.
I'm listening.
You're wanting to get in and cut your teeth on it, or what?
Yeah, well, I'm listening to just a lot of rap, and like I
hell
haven't
yeah.
done any rap, and I've wanted to, but I just need to write one.
Who knows? We could be seeing we talked about on the the famous day where we met up and talked and like laid out the framework for Right Guys. Having a rap episode was one of them that we really wanted to deep dive rap and challenge to write raps and maybe even get a rapper on here.
We're about to have a rapper on
dude,
here.
I can feel it, dude. It's coming.
It's happening on this episode.
Just really?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Here he comes.
All right, here we go. Let's turn this tube on and get this interview. All right. Hey, John.
Hey. So I actually just mentioned the fact that you're a rapper quickly. That had just come up right before we jumped into the interview.
Yeah, had no idea. I was
because Micah was saying that he really wants to have a rapper on as a guest. And I was like, you're about to.
And I was like, oh, really?
And I actually thought that on a podcast about writing is probably a good time for me to come clean about just an anecdote from our relationship from a long time ago.
Let's go to battle. The battle.
Yeah. We did it was on like a youth group. John was like, he was a youth leader at a youth event one year that I was at, and we had planned to do like a rap battle, and it was something that like he had sort of gone up one year and he was doing freestyle rap with people who were going up, and I went up and like challenged him in freestyle, and it was not good. Like it was like I don't think there was a single line at rhyme. I think that I didn't even get into my like third line. I think I just said a line and then another line that didn't rhyme, and then I just gave up.
Well, first of all, I think you didn't even have rhythm when you started. It was like no one.
No.
It was just,
it was a disaster. And it was terrible. And so then I sort of reached out to him at some point that year with the idea that we should do another one, but I wanted to write mine ahead of time and just like have like a
legit battle,
a rap battle.
So hold on. This is the part that I didn't know, right? So I'm thinking like, all right, this is he's a youth. I'll be easy. I'll be kind. I'll be merciful. Ben like worked hard on this. It was the craziest part.
He went in.
I was like, all right, let's go, Ben. And I'm all calm and calm and collective. Like Ben, like put on the hood, smile on me. Good.
So the way that we played it out, like we made it look like it was freestyle, and so I came out looking really great in this because I was like I was looking nervous ahead of time, like, and then I kind of got up on stage and then I put the hood up and I did the whole thing that was totally pre-written, and not even by me. I couldn't write rap. I literally tried, and my cousin Ian.
Ian wrote it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Ian, who was a way more hood white person than I was, but he still very white. And so
you just had a
but we went in. No, like we really worked on it for a long time. Like we workshopped the different parts of it and and it was and I feel like now I've got to come clean on my podcast that and then you actually did freestyle in response to mine, and it was very good. Like you actually did, like it was obviously like it just looked like it was the same thing continued, but you hadn't actually written something ahead of time.
No,
like
he did it for real.
Yeah.
it was fun. So I was not ready for or what came forward. I'm like, oh yeah, it's Ben. Like, what's... And then you drop those lines that cause tears.
Oh, you went for it, huh?
He went for it. He went for it.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, to this day, I kind of didn't live it down. I was like, dang, I really lost to this white boy, yo.
I think in reality, you definitely won the rap battle in terms of any, like, obviously to freestyle at all is like real skill.
Oh,
like,
God, yeah.
Like I've legit tried, and like I mean, like, obviously there's some practice component, but I've not been able to achieve any measure of success.
It literally started, like, my cousin and I, when we were young, we were like, and this is probably going to like sound like the nerdiest thing ever, but we were like read dictionaries and thesauruses, right? And
yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, and we were like, literally, we would have this game that we played, right? And we would throw words at each other, and we would have to like rhyme off of that word. And what happened is it caused you to think more and think faster.
Yeah.
And they try to put things together. So it's like, at first, when you first started out, it's like you're just trying to make stuff rhyme, and then after that, you're like actually trying to make sense out of what you're rhyming about.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but it's a thing that it's like a muscle, right? Like, I haven't done it in years, so if I try to do it now, not the same. Not going to have the same effect. So it's one of those things you have to constantly work at, and it's still there, but it's not the same as it used to be. So
we actually talk about something similar just in writing, like in creative writing. When you're writing regularly and you're putting in the chair time and you're sitting down, it's kind of like it primes that engine, that creative engine. So it's like it like you said, it's like a muscle. Like the more you use it, the more available it is to you.
Yeah.
And that's like your imagination being a muscle, pretty much, and that you work out and you get it ready. But when it's been a while and you're dusting the cobwebs off and you're sitting there staring at a blank page, it's just like,
Well, so what's funny though is freestyle is totally different from writing, right? Like with writing, like writing comes easy to me. It's like it's second nature because I still write, right? So, but with the freestyling piece is actually a lot more difficult because there's no concept to it. There's no you're just pulling stuff out of air and making it happen instantly. Whereas with writing, you're actually like sitting down, you're contemplating, you're thinking, how is this with this? Like you're actually like putting these pieces together and putting things together and trying to make a, whether it's a story or a song, you're still trying to like process that. Whereas with freestyling, it's like as soon as it happens, it comes out. So that's why I think like just an aspect of working on it is like something that has to constantly be worked on. Especially trying to make sense out of words, not just saying words. So
yeah, it's fascinating. What we were just talking about before you came on was we want to have a whole episode about it. Maybe we bring you back on. Like I want to
practice. I gotta practice.
It's got me being like I want to do like the drill that you just said, and like with the dictionary and thesaurus and just try to like I don't know, see what if I just like freestyle to myself for like a couple weeks, just see if I can tell that I'm any better by the time we get on and do an episode. That would be that'd be
what
really
you do,
fun.
like literally, like it's gonna sound odd, but like how about you and Ben text each other throughout the day, just random words?
Right? Yeah, that's a great idea.
When you get that word, you like just in your head, just trying to make something happen of it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It didn't work, bro. It didn't work. He not lied to us. He sold us a dream.
Yeah. Well, John, I'm Micah, by the way. I haven't introduced myself yet, but it's great to meet you.
I met you a long time ago. Long time ago.
Oh, really? Where at?
I think did he come to our church, Ben?
Must have.
Yeah, it was like a very long time ago. I think it was like one of those, what are these things called? Like
there might have been like a reservoir.
Hebrew or some reservoir. I don't know.
They might have come out by one of those or something.
Oh, okay, sure. I see. Well, either way, it's great to see you, man. And Ben speaks only highly of you. And also, I gotta say, it's just inspiring to be talking to you right now, as I am about to release my first children's book.
Nice.
And yeah, and
congrats, man.
Yeah, man. I went through and was looking at yours. I read Micah Zoo, me and Micah Zoo at the zoo, which was wild. That was a journey.
That's my favorite one. That's actually one of my favorite ones, actually.
I
So
loved it, man.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm just so happy to have you on here. This is a topic that's very big on my heart.
cool. What's the title so far for you?
Yeah, so the title is Randy the Robot.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been putting it together I wrote it years and years ago, but for the past like 3 years I've been working on it steady, and we've got it's been through editing. It's got all the illustrations are done. We're doing lettering. We've got cover back done. I'm just about ready to publish.
Nice. If you have any
Yeah.
questions, man, feel free to reach out.
Thank you. I will for sure, man. But yeah, so I wanted to get into asking you some questions on here. Which one was your first book, and what was that process like?
Actually, the first book, Ben's wife illustrated for me. So,
Oh,
that was
nice.
I'll Be Right There. That was my first book. And to be honest, like I actually wasn't trying to publish a book originally. It was just more so, like I was a dad who read stories to his kids, and I wanted stories that, to be honest, like that look like us, right? We didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of books that had dads in them. There was like all the dads in the books that I had were like, like stuffed animals or like characters that weren't actually like physical dads, physical fathers, like human fathers. And then, stories of I didn't have any dads of color in my books. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted like to just create a book in the house for my kids. And then and talking to like a lot of other dads, it was kind of um like why not do this for like other dads? Like why not create stories that dads can enjoy?
Yeah.
And it kind of just snowballed from there. Like it was never an intention to like be an author. It was more so just something that I wanted for my kids that I didn't have for them when they were little. And I wanted to kind of create stories for them. And
Mm.
it just literally snowballed from there. So
That is so cool, man. How
I
long
have
ago was that?
that's process. I actually started writing I'll Be Right There back in let's say 2016, 2017. But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't start the whole process until so it's funny, I wanted to use Julia a long time ago. But at that time, I think she was still currently in school. And I kept asking Shelly, I was like, hey, babe, I'm going to, so Shelly's my wife. I was like, hey, babe, I'm going to reach out to Julia. I know she's in school right now. She's like, John, she's in school. Wait till she's done. I'm like, all right. So I waited till she's done. Then apparently Ben wants to get married. So I was like, dad. So I wanted to reach out again, and then they got married. I'm like, all right. So pretty much all around this time, like, I had the idea, and I wanted Julia because she knew our boys,
Mm.
and it was like really intimate there. Like our boys were in their wedding, so like I wanted somebody who knew our boys, who knew my relationship with them, to actually take part in like creating the first story.
Mm.
So the illustration process was like I already. So what happens is I visualize everything in my mind, but I don't have the skill to illustrate. So
Same. Yeah.
yeah, I don't have that gift. So I was like, I want somebody who has that ability, who has the skill, who knows my boys, to like, to help me create this first story. And that came out in 2019. So
Oh man, that's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
And
man.
and you've got 4 under your belt now, right?
Five now. Yeah,
5.
yeah. Just one came out on Father's Day.
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
and your stories like they're each one is kind of its own whole concept. These are like they're very directed toward their kind of themes.
hmm
Where do you get the ideas for these specific stories? Like, does it rain food? Me and my kazoo at the zoo.
So it literally derives from my kids. Like, um, a lot of the stories that like it'll be like a random blip that Isaiah and I or Elijah and I will have a conversation about, and it'll just spark a book from it, right? So I'll Be Right There started from a conversation I had with Isaiah, my oldest. He got scared at night, and I was like, "Don't worry, I got you. I'm right there for you." And I sat by the bed, and a book came from that, right? Me and my kazoo
Mhm.
with the zoo. Elijah, my son Elijah, loves music. He loves music to like, I mean, he sings for like no reason, right? So loves music and he loves animals. So, so like, it's like a combination of like, what if you had like your favorite music with at the zoo with you? So it was like me and my kazoo at the zoo, right? Um, does it rain food? Like I had just found out that we were going to have a baby. We had a baby in September, right? So we had just found out we were having a baby, and I just had a random thought, like, I wonder if babies think food is like falling on top of them, like when mommy's eating, and it's just like, yeah, like little nuggets or something. So
Yeah.
I'm weird that way. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. But
Oh, I
that's
love it though. No,
yeah. So it just kind of came from there, like just random ideas. And I have like I'll be honest, I have like a childlike mind, right? I'm old, but I got like a childlike mind. So because I worked with kids for years, I used to teach. I currently still work with kids. So like I kind of like get into a mind of like a child and like what would a child's imagination want to see? And
yeah,
what would they want to see in the book? Like how could their imagination be stretched and go to so many different places? So
yeah,
yeah.
You've talked about some of the things that like your goals with writing these stories, like broadening representation,
Mhm.
and like creating something that your kids will like, things that other dads would like reading. Do you have other like goals in mind when you think about writing children's stories? Do you have like a certain number of books you want to get to, or certain thing that you're looking to like
Yeah.
accomplish with writing kids stories?
Um. So it's funny. Like I have no goal as far as like the selling of books, right? My goal more so is I like the coolest thing that I like for me is seeing like people send pictures of them or telling me stories of them like actually sitting down and reading these stories with their children or sending me pictures of or telling me of like their children laughing at the stories like
Yeah.
mm,
because and to be honest like it drives me more. So when I was younger I didn't grow up with that, right? So it was my mother and I, and the simple fact my mom was always working hard. So I want families to like to be able to like take the time aside to sit down with their children and enjoy the stories, right?
Yeah.
That is my goal behind each and every book. And if you look in the books too, like they're all like kind of family geared, like it gets the family involved. There's a lot of discussion between the mom and children
hmm
or things like that. So
Right.
that's my main goal is really just to I was a social worker for 12 years. So
Yeah.
being in the
Right.
field and understanding family dynamics, I wanted them to have those moments where they can actually just sit down with their children and pause for a moment, pause life for a moment, and just enjoy your child because your child is not going to be a child always. So
Mm.
yes,
yeah,
that's powerful.
Yeah, I think that like hearing you talk about your vision and what you want to do with kids stories is so cool. I'm curious, like if you see yourself, if this is the place where you're just like, yes, I love writing kids stories, this is where I want to be, or do you see yourself like as a writer taking that as a starting point, branching out into other types of genres like young adult or other things?
so I actually started a young adult novel, but I'm not going to talk about that right now.
Okay.
Um, but
All
more so,
right.
so my gear is more so still towards, um, just doing children's books. But because my children it's kind of funny. Like as my children grow, I'm growing with them.
Mm.
So right now, my son Isaiah is going to middle school, but he's like reading young adult novels, right? So he like if you ever talk to him, he's always reading something new.
Mm.
So just in a conversation with him, I sparked the idea like, well, I want to create like a story that he could read, that his friends will want to read.
Hmm.
So to be honest, I don't know what it'll lead to, right? Like I wasn't even planning on writing children's stories in the first place.
Hmm.
So I think it kind of just depends on but the good thing about art, right, is art kind of translates no matter where you go, right? So if I'm working with children and then continue to do children's stories, and it'll kind of stay in that area. But as my children grow, I'm growing with them. I may write young adult, continue to write young adult novels, and may transition on to adult novels. I really don't know. There wasn't a plan to it, so there's no form of faction to it. It's just like there's an idea that comes up, and I just want to flesh it out. So.
Yeah, but that's cool to hear that you're like open to it, and like
Yeah.
that you're like,
Yeah.
it's always exciting to hear about like people evolving. Like I know like going from rap, obviously, like I don't know, like what other types have you done, other like what is your writing history, what like
So
Yeah.
it's
done a
funny.
good
My
few.
writing history actually started with poetry.
Okay.
So from a young age, I was always in the arts, just in general. And that's the thing about it. Most of us, like a lot of even writers, like you just enjoy art, right?
Right.
Um, and so my main thing was poetry. So like the transition from poetry to rap was like wasn't that difficult because all rap is just poetry in motion, right? So I just had to like learn how to get it on beat. But yeah, I started with poetry. And like from that transition from even with the children's book, they're still written in poetry form. Because I understand like too as a teacher, I understand like it's easier for children to understand concepts, learn words, when stories are written in that form because constantly reading and repetition helps memory, helps children to learn and remember things easier. So I purposely even write the books in rhyming form so that children can learn um, you know, words, they can understand rhyming forms and patterns and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah. What in your eyes makes something a children's story? What are like the factors that you're like, okay, so we have sort of challenges we do every episode of this podcast. We'll send out a prompt for people to send in submissions, and then we kind of read them. This time our prompt was to write a children's story.
Okay.
And so we had people sending in, and so I was just internally debating as I sat down to write, and kind of had this existential crisis of like, wait, what is a children's, like how do I write something that is distinctly that and not something else? And like it was just intriguing to me, all the different variables and factors that came to mind during that process. And so I'm curious to just pick your brain about what makes something to you a children's story.
So what makes it a children's story to me is I literally dumb down, not dumb down. I'm gonna say dumb down. I literally try to get into the mind of a child, right? And I think about the things that I enjoyed when I was little, and I just go from that perspective, right? Like I said, I still have small children now, so I
Right.
talk to them on a daily basis about the things that are funny to them, the things that are curious, the things that they think about. So I think I learned one thing, like you are what you eat, right? My mom used to always tell me, like, John, you keep eating those hamburgers, you're going to turn into a hamburger. And as you can see, I'm not the small individual. I'm pretty big, right? So, but that's the thing about it. Like, the thing that you're constantly around is it helps you to like, actually, at least helps me to be inspired to, like, understand, like, what a child may like, because I see what my children like. I see what my children find funny, right? Like, the smallest thing from, like, I actually like wrote a new book last night, right? And then the whole time I'm writing the story, right? I'm actually like sitting here reading it as I wrote it and laughing to myself in my head. Like it sounds weird.
That's
Don't
great. That's
judge
a good
me.
sign. That's a good
Yeah,
sign.
don't judge me. It's okay. But I was literally thinking like, how would a kid read this? This is hilarious. This is weird. This is funny. This is quirky. And then I'm also visualizing like the images that would go along with it. And I think the thing is, like how I work with stories is I work from like I think about the whole picture and I work my way backwards. Like I think about the story visually before I even start really writing the words. I think about like, all right, how do I want to imagine this? So, but me and my kazoo at the zoo, I was just imagining like me walking around like I said, like walking around the zoo with an instrument. And it just happened that kazoo rhymed with zoo.
Yeah.
And I ran with that. But really what just started from it actually was like me imagining like penguins like having little drum sets.
Yeah.
And just working my way back from that image. That sounds crazy, but I worked my way back from that like little image and just started trying to make things
It's
work.
like Michelangelo seeing David in the marble. Yeah. He just saw the penguins.
Yeah, he just saw.
Painting, like,
Yeah, he saw
It's
a
like
bear playing bass
Doctor
somewhere.
Strange.
He's like, oh
You're
yeah.
like, there's only one outcome that's
There's
possible
only
with the
one.
penguins playing the drums.
5,942
And
million.
the snakes are salsing.
Yeah,
I,
so that's how like I view. I
Yeah,
really
so
think about like what would a child think about
that's
this story?
amazing. Yeah, so it's all about the audience perspective and all about just like what appeals to kids, what would
Yeah,
make this good for kids. If it meets those criteria, then it's a children's story.
well,
yeah,
that I mean, it sounds like that. One thing I also want to point out is like you have a really good handle on the faders of your motivations behind why you make the children's books and like wanting to be dad inclusive, wanting to be family inclusive, wanting to be color inclusive. But also, while having that's like personal motivation, but then having a great handle on what kids think is fun, like zany things, and like
yeah,
where to go, where to not go so heavy over here, where to go more over here, and kind of bring it back, like on Micah Zoo, where yeah, I didn't know where that thing was going. At first they're getting ready to go to the zoo. I thought all this stuff was going to happen at the zoo, but he's just going off, and it painted a great picture of like they're trying to get ready to go to the zoo, and he's just thinking of all these different things that could happen. He's bouncing them off his mom, and his mom's just like, maybe let's go check it out. And
yeah.
then
Let's go see what happens.
it shows all of y'all getting into the car together, and then it's like but then like even the like tagline on the end, like would y'all like to play with me too, and or it's like, can we play too, like we'd like to play with you too, like it's kind of like bringing it all in, like, oh yeah, we're all together, let's all go have fun. And I thought that was just something that really stood out to me. And then hearing you talk about your motivations and background, it feels like you're nailing that.
Yeah,
It's really cool.
Is the goal? Yeah, the goal, and like so I'm a relational type of person. So I always think about relationships with anybody, like with people in general. And one like the one I was working on last night was more so just it was a relationship in an inanimate object, but it's more so how this child views themselves through this inanimate object. And like a lot of times, children don't think about like we don't think that children think about it, but like, just for those children, like I grew up as the only child. So I didn't have like brothers and sisters to bounce stuff off of, right? So I was the only child, and I had a favorite stuffed animal, and I had a favorite hamster named Jake. Yes, I named my hamster Jake. I don't know why, but
Jake?
Jake.
Jake? Oh, Jake
But
the
it was funny
hamster.
though, so like I found pictures of Jake, right? And I'm in there taking selfies with him. I have sunglasses on. He's a hamster. Like he's just but that's the thing about it is like I did that as a child, right? Children think that way. Like they think that like this hamster was the most awesome thing to me. Like this was like amazing to me. Just imagine like how many other children think like inanimate objects that we think aren't important to us are important to them.
Mm-hmm.
So like I want to like highlight those things that because it's twofold, right? And this is another thing I didn't mention about the books though. The books are for children to enjoy, but it's also to give a perspective to parents to help them understand how their child thinks and to be okay with how their child thinks. A lot of
Teaching
times,
on both sides.
Yeah. So like, when I did I'll Be Right There, it was a letter to my son saying I'll be right there for you. But it's also a reminder for me to be responsible, right? That I have a responsibility as a parent to be there for my child. That I may not want to, but they didn't choose to come into this world. I chose to have them here. So because I chose to have them here, I have a responsibility to them. So like, even though it's not overtly saying that, that's the thing I want to happen, is for parents to read this book to their children and think like, I have a responsibility to make sure, my child feels like they're safe. And for the child to feel like they can go to their parent whenever things feel unsafe for them. Same thing with me and Micah with the zoo, like that you can dream with your parents, that you can have those moments of like just having the craziest thought, and parents, it's okay. Sometimes just honor that, like just honor them being a child, because they're only a child for how long? You have your whole life to be an adult. You're only a child for like 20 years of that.
And
so
even in the story, like you don't have to tell them that they don't do that at the zoo. It's just like
No.
maybe they do. Let's go see. Let's go find out.
Yeah,
Like
here's
let's
what they
just go
doing. Like,
together.
yeah, so it's funny. So like when I go to book fairs and stuff, right? I actually have kazoos with me at the book fairs, and I
Nice.
give kazoos away with the books, and I
The
give one
the
to the child.
instructional at the back was so cool. Yeah, dude.
So the cool thing about it is I give one to the child and I give one to the parents. And I'm like, all right. So it was cool. One time I was at a book fair that had like a music fest there, and I was like, all right, now you gotta make a deal with me. So I'll give you this book for free, but you gotta take a kazoo, mom and dad, and little one, and I gotta play with the band. And it was cool because I got to go over and like watch them. They were sitting there playing with the kazoo because they got a free book, and I told them to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But it
that's
was
cool.
just watching kids and parents just be free from them, like to take the
Mm.
stress of the world away and just enjoy playing the kazoo. Because who doesn't want to play a kazoo?
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
love it, man.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So we have something that we talk about often on the show, just as writers wanting to write more and wanting to develop better writing habits. As somebody who's cranked out 5 books since 2019,
Yeah.
and you're just starting another one, and you're starting a YA novel. What is your writing regimen kind of practice look like? Do you have time that you try to set aside like a week? Like we call it chair time. Like
Yeah.
what's your chair time look like?
So my chair time is usually from 10 to 11:30, 2 times a week. I actually have the schedule.
Very cool. In the morning?
At night.
At night. Okay. All
So
right.
when
After everybody's down.
asleep and everybody's down and everybody's away, 10 to 11:30, that time is set aside. And sometimes, writing comes of it. Sometimes I'm working on like, just doing the marketing and promotion piece of it. But I set that time aside. I had to like learn how to, because I do other things, I had to learn how to like section time to make sure like if I don't
Yeah.
set this time aside, I won't set it aside. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's
So
that's great.
yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you find yourself like you sit down and you're like, okay, I'm in this chair from 10 to 11:30. Like, and sometimes
Last night I
staring
had
at
to
a
go to
blank
bed till
screen,
2.
just like, okay.
So so I set that time aside, but it's like it's more so just free time. But like last night, the ideas were just was just flowing yesterday.
Yeah.
So I just however long I'm sitting there, if it's flowing, and my wife will come out, hey babe, it's time to go to bed. I'm like I'm not done yet. Can I finish a little more? So
Yeah.
When
oh,
dude, you can't turn it off like when the when the
yeah,
waters
Oh,
are
yeah.
coming. When
faucet's
it's like,
open.
yeah, dude, it's
Too
tough.
precious. It's
Yeah.
it's like you're digging for gold for months, and then you strike gold, and it's like, all right, let's come back tomorrow. You're like, no, I'm digging this up
Nah,
right now.
I'm like, I'll pay for it later. It's all good. Whatever, man. You can always get sleep another time. Let's do this.
Oh
So,
yeah. Oh
so,
yeah.
so I'll pay for it this morning. I woke up at like 7 o'clock. But I'm happy with what came out of it. So it was like one of those things. It's like that sacrifice is worth it. So
Yes.
yeah.
What publishing platforms do you use?
So I actually use. You ever heard of Ingram Sparks or Lulu?
They both sound familiar.
So what Ingram Sparks and Lulu do, they are publishing platforms for those who are doing the independent route,
Yes.
and they actually do your distribution for you. So I use Amazon, of course, because everybody uses Amazon.
Yeah.
I use them for paperbacks, but everything else, as far as hardbacks and all that, I do my distribution through Lulu, who actually distributes it to pretty much everybody, Walmart, you name it, Barnes and Nobles.
Very cool.
They do all the work. It's almost like you ever heard of TuneCore?
Yes. Yes.
It's like pretty much TuneCore for books.
Wow.
That's cool. Yeah, we use TuneCore.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah, because I've learned one thing. I've learned is one, I want to control. That's what I'm doing. Independent route is I want to control when and how the books come out. They all come out on their birthdays or significant days.
Ah, that's beautiful.
So yeah, so I want to control that. So being able to do that, I had to like kind of find my own way about doing it. And with the platforms, you still have to do a lot of work to do it to get it done, but it just allows you more control about how you do things and when you do things. And how it gets out. And also too is knowing what I can and what I can't do,
Mm.
and what I got the time for. I'm like, well, if I can get somebody else, if I can do this part and give it on to somebody else, and then they can manage everything else, I'll take that route. So
Yeah. Have you what about like literary agents and stuff like that? Like, is that something that you deal with, or that you're even open to, or would you
I will
rather?
be open to, but right now, I think I still just like the freedom.
Yeah,
I like the
that's
freedom
cool.
of being able um, to say and do, control when and how. With the agent and those things like that, you're kind of like put on time limits and crunches, and
Yeah,
I like the control aspect of how and when I do things. So,
yeah, and with
so
that
that's the
distro, you know it's out there, so that's
yeah. So I
yeah,
think the
that's
tough
cool.
part, and that's one thing I have to get in my head is like being able to like say, all right, well, a literary agent may be beneficial without without feeling like I'm giving up on myself and the things I like to do the way I like to do them. So
Mm, yeah,
yeah,
I get that.
yeah,
That's where I'm at right now. Is I finally got like I've got the full package, and I'm like, it would be cool to land like a literary agent or something and go that route, because I just kind of equated to the music industry
mm-hmm.
of like signing to a record label, and like but I'm also looking at the final package. It's like I'm like, I did all of this. Like
Yeah.
what what are they going to bring to the table for me? Because I mean, this thing is done. Like, I could also just self-publish this thing. So that's kind of
Yeah,
that
and that's the
limbo
tough
I'm in
part.
right now.
So, to be honest, like with that piece, right, is looking at it when you create this thing, you also don't want to get put in a position where you feel like, all right, I shop this to somebody, I shop this to a literary agent or a publishing company, and they're like, well, we don't want this work, we don't like this work, and you start to question and doubt yourself too.
Mm,
And I don't want to get into the boat where I question and doubt anything I do because I know my intention behind it, right?
mm,
Um, so one, that having that control of saying I want to do it the way I want to do it. Two, um, not having outside people make me doubt what I'm doing. But
mm-hmm.
also like the aspect too, like just like you mentioned, if you get signed to a record label, you're bound to whatever the record label kind of like says you have to do. Like you have to put your album out at this time. Like they're looking
Mm-hmm.
at the units that you're trying to sell and push, and it becomes like this like a monster that sometimes you don't feel like dealing with, right?
Mm.
Whereas if you control it yourself, you can control it yourself, right? Like I'm not having outside factors looking at my numbers and things like that. Like I don't care about my numbers. The
Kind of
numbers are
keep it
cool.
pure that
Yeah,
way.
I just want to
Yeah.
keep it like, I just want to keep it wholesome. The reason why I'm doing this is not really to make sales. I'll be honest, like I'm not doing it to make sales. It's cool if I make the sales. I'm happy I don't make the sales. And that's why I'll continue to, that's what allows me to keep doing it. But the reality of why I'm doing it is I want people to enjoy stories. I love
Yeah.
stories. Like when I go to the movies, I enjoy watching a movie. When I read a book, I enjoy reading a story.
Mm-hmm.
So same reason why y'all doing a podcast. Like, of course something's coming from it, but it was sparked from something that you love doing. You guys are writers, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the thing that drives you, you don't want to lose that in the midst of trying to find numbers and all that kind of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Absolutely. That's great. I needed to hear that. Thank you.
We need
Because this
a
all been
reminder.
this is all
Wait,
been
why did we
heavy
start the
stuff on my mind.
podcast?
Oh no.
Wait, why did? Oh, right. There was something that I loved.
Oh,
at the
there you go.
beginning.
This was almost
But
episode last one. Just kidding.
Yeah.
it came at
But
that
yeah, it's what
reminder
happens.
came.
Like you get so caught up in the stuff that you're doing. So I'm a photographer as well, and so I'm a wedding photographer. So one of the things that happened with weddings is I started getting like focused on how many weddings I shot a year,
Mm,
and then I started noticing two things. One, the more weddings that I wanted to shoot a year, the less time I had time to spend with my family, right? And family is more important to me than weddings. The cool thing about it, weddings, I choose to do them and how to do them and when I do them. And then the second thing is I got so focused on the business aspect that I stopped enjoying shooting.
mm-hmm.
I stopped enjoying doing weddings. I stopped enjoying doing photography. And I took that same concept of like, I don't want to lose the joy that I have, writing books, focus on the business.
Yeah.
I went back to the same basis of photography. Like I'm only doing this round of weddings a year. I'm only doing weddings that I feel like I'm enjoy, and then I like the people, and I like the couples and things like that.
Yeah.
I had to get back to that basis, and
It's
if
kind
you're
of
not
like
doing
protecting
something
your
that you love doing,
inspiration.
if you're not doing something
Yeah.
that you love, then it's hard to be inspired when you the thing that you originally started inspired you is not the same anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So people lose their love for music because the reason why they started it is not the reason why they're doing it now. It becomes a survival thing rather than a joy.
Absolutely. Man,
Yeah.
I've been there. Been on that side of it too. Yeah. It's
No.
true. I mean, like you got to protect your joy, protect your passions.
There's great wisdom in kind of like being picky about the jobs that you take, being exclusive. It's like, especially if you're someone who's skilled at what you're doing, it's like that's not necessarily something that's going to hurt you in the long run. Like having the energy to really put forward everything that you want to into those jobs that you really want. And it's like that is like a really healthy way to manage energy that will probably net you more time doing things that you want to do in the future, because you're actually focusing on those things more directly.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys I love anime, right? Do you ever see the Animatrix?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you remember the episode? What was the guy? He was like an artist. He was like a machine that was an artist, and he got like to this point where he was like, he got like he got to like the highest point of like his career and all that, and then he got to a point where he was like, you know what, I don't enjoy this, and he went back to like a lowly like machine that started cleaning the pool.
Oh, Love, Death, and Robots.
That was Love, Death, and Robots?
That's Love, Death, and Robots. That's Zima Blue, season 1.
Zima Blue. Yeah, it is Zima Blue. You're right. Season 1, right?
Dude, for sure.
Sorry about that. So Zima Blue. So Zima Blue reminded me of that, like that aspect of getting to this point where you don't even enjoy what you're doing anymore, so just bringing it back down.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's big.
Speaking of things that you enjoy, I'm really curious what books you read as a kid.
So you know what's funny? I don't remember any. All I remember was Berenstain Bears.
Yeah.
Dang,
When I was
that's
little.
one.
That's a good one.
pretty
Yeah.
So I was heavy in the comics. That's all I remember was comics.
And do you remember it with the E or the A?
Manchurian Candidate. I don't remember it, yo. It's so confusing. Like, I remember watching this video on YouTube, and I was like, wait, hold on, did it?
Right.
I was going for a while. I don't know.
Right.
Berenstain Bears.
Yeah, Berenstain
Ben
Bears.
threw me into the Twilight Zone with that one too. I was like, what? No.
I know. I was like, I didn't even question it until I saw the video, and I started questioning my whole life. Like, am I in the wrong?
Right.
The
What
wrong
else?
timeline.
What else did I
my
miss?
timeline.
So we actually, if we have a little time left, there's something a segment we like to do on the show sometimes called Dead Words, where we have like 3 words that we want to maybe bring back from the dead that are archaic, long forgotten, lost pieces of language. They're just little treasures that usually we love them so much, and we can pick one to bring back. This time, Micah and I have devised a little game around it. So basically what we have is we have 3 words, and then each word has 3 definitions. One definition is the true dead word definition, and then 2 of the definitions are decoys that Micah and I each wrote one of.
Devilish decoys.
So
All right, let's go.
instead of as normal how this game would proceed would be we would read the words and then decide 1 of 3 to revive, and 2 would have to go back into the ground. Now, the way this one's going to work, all 3 are on the table to be revived. Any of them can get resurrected. All that has to happen is if you get the definition right. If you get the definition wrong, a point will be awarded to either Micah or I based on whose definition you chose. If none of the stories are resurrected, then the winner between Micah and I will get to decide which word gets resurrected. Does all those rules make sense?
That do make sense. Now, what if there can't be a tie because it's the best out of 3?
Yeah, it's
right?
3, right? Yeah, and so
Right.
if it's only if you
What
were
if I
to
only
get
answered 2? Like, do you guys have to like medieval duke it out to figure out who wins?
no, if you because you'll answer the 3rd one, and then if you get it right, then we'll
Yeah.
then that'll be
And
the
so-
one that gets
and so-
revived.
Yeah. If you get it right, if it, also let us know if there's one that you just absolutely love, because we could pull some strings and maybe get that thing out of the ground.
There we go. All right, cool.
So this has been a super fun segment. That this will be our third time having it, right? Third time.
So.
And it's being brought back by popular demand of our little community. So what we got to do though before we get into it is we got to prep our defibrillators here, because we got some dusty zombies, literary zombies about to be crawling out of the ground, and we're deciding which ones we're gonna bring back in. And so once one is revived, then the in the challenges you get points. You get bragging points for working in the revived word into your next challenges.
The ones that have been revived so far were smatch it was the first one, which was a derogatory term just for like a greasy delinquent type individual. So
yeah,
it could just
it got resurrected though. Now it's Ratchet somehow.
Somehow Smatch It went to Ratchet. Yeah.
So it's a noun. It's a noun version of Ratchet. It's
right.
A Smatch It is Ratchet.
And then we did Quanked, right? Was
Quanked.
Yeah, Quanked was one. That's when you're really exhausted. You're totally quanked.
And then sounds like I'm about to start using that.
It's good, right?
So hold on. After we finish this, I got a challenge for y'all.
Okay.
The words, if there are any words that are resurrected, you have to use them in the freestyle.
Oh yes, yes.
All right.
Oh man.
And you got to use Smash It in
This is gonna be some very interesting freestyle.
Yeah.
Micah, there was one more word. My favorite one was for watching someone eat.
Oh, groak.
Like
groak.
Watching someone eat like lustfully.
Yeah,
like
longingly watch. But how good is that? It's a word that you need today. You know, someone's groaking at you. They're watching you eat. Like, hey, can I have a bite? And you're like, quit groaking, man. Like, what?
They should use that. Like,
it feels good.
Walking down Center City, you're literally walking through looking through windows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why doing it?
And it's got some bite to it. When someone's watching you eat, you want to tell them off. It's like, stop groaking.
Stop groaking me, man.
Stop groaking me, you Smatch It.
All right. So I'm gonna read through the definitions for this
Too
first
quanked to be dealing with
this first word here that we're potentially bringing back.
Okay.
The first word is honeyfuggle. So I'm going to read you 3 definitions.
All right, let's go.
One who behaves obsequiously, especially for one's own advantage. So obsequious being like obedient or servile.
Okay.
Another definition would be to caress someone in a sweet manner, to provoke intimacy. Honeyfuggle. To compliment or flatter someone to get something you want. All right, so that's the 3 definitions. It's one who behaves obsequiously, especially for one's own advantage, to caress someone in a sweet manner to provoke intimacy, or to compliment or flatter someone to get something you want.
I think number 2.
To caress someone in a sweet manner to provoke intimacy. That's mine.
Oh, fell for the trap.
It was number 1, wasn't it? It was number 1, wasn't it?
It was not.
Was mine.
It was the last one.
It was the last one?
It was to flatter someone to get something you want.
Yes, honeyfuggle is a verb. 19th century. Ben's good at this. What's going on in 19th century, Ben?
Oh my God, this is about to be wrong, guys, again.
Honeyfuggle, to compliment or flatter someone to get something you want. Ben wanted to play PS4 online, but had to honeyfuggle his girlfriend first.
That's the real example definition they gave in the book.
It couldn't be.
I lost my mind when I read
that. Okay, and Ben, why don't we need to flash the picture of a honeyfuggle on here.
Don't worry about it. There's little images that come with the things. They're pretty funny, but we'll put them up in the episode.
Yeah, this guy is, and they're all like old oil paintings, and there's this guy like very creepily sneaking up behind this girl with like trying to like spit some poetry while she's trying to do some work, and she's like not having it.
Honeyfuggling.
Yeah, she knows she's getting honeyfuggled by this guy. Okay,
Micah, do you want to do the next word? Do you have it in front of you?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do the next one.
I don't know if you have all the definitions collected in one place.
I do. Okay.
Cool.
All right. So this next word is pingle. Okay. I'm gonna say A. Does pingle mean an itch or irritation that cannot be soothed? I have a pingle. Does it mean B, to work in a useless, unhelpful manner that only interferes? Or does it mean C, to steal such a small amount of something that it wouldn't be noticed? What does it mean to pingle? Or what is a pingle?
How about B?
B?
Yeah.
You're dead on! Yeah! Here we go!
Let's get it.
Boom! Pingle is back!
I have to say, this was my favorite one of this batch, and I'm
Pingle
thrilled
is
that
so
we resurrected
good.
Pingle.
Hey! Who is this? What's his name?
Gabriana.
Gabriana.
Yes, her name.
Oh,
Little angel.
Hey, pretty girl. She's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, she was here for Pingle getting resurrected from the grave.
You helped me get Pingle right.
Oh, that's great. All right. Ben, you want to
We've just
our
got
last
one more here. All right, the last word is absquatulate.
What?
Absquatulate.
That sounds like a wet fart. If I don't...
That's actually one of the options. Just kidding.
Let's read these definitions here. We have absquatulate. A, to spend with reckless abandon. B, absquatulate, to consider all foreseeable outcomes and arrive at no solution. little Doctor Strange moment there. Absquatulate. Absquatulate. C, to run off with someone in a hurry. To abscond.
Dang. What was the first one again?
Absquatulate, to spend with reckless abandon.
Is it C?
It is C. C is correct. Absquatulate.
C, absquatulate. Yeah.
We have the team up from Gabriana and John.
I know.
Oh man, unbeatable.
An exciting dead words. Our first dead words with 2 resurrections.
Oh, this is huge. Yep. All right. We have two empty literary graves now.
Yay.
Pingle and absquatulate.
Now you gotta use those in rhymes.
We do.
I know. Oh man.
Yes, thank you so much for playing Dead Words. And John, thank you for coming on the podcast. I think that's just about wrapping up the time that we have here.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, John. This has been inspirational and informative. And
is there anything that you want
on.
to plug or advertise?
You can always just find me on Instagram. Wrote by John is WROTEBYJON. Other than that, nah, man, the book's out there. If you have questions, just hit me up on Instagram. It's cool.
Right. Jonathan Marshall, look him up. His stuff is awesome, and there's more to come.
Thanks, guys. Say bye, Gabby.
Bye, Gabby.
Bye.
All right, fellas.
Later.
All right, thanks, man. See ya.
Later.
Oh man, that was awesome.
Thank you so much, John, for coming on.
Yes. Thank you, John.
To talk to you, to learn about writing children's stories, your career, everything going on with that.
Mm-hmm.
We have some children's stories of our own that we are going to read at this point in the evening.
Yes, from our last challenge, which was...
It was called... What was the name?
I don't think we had a name for it yet, but I said I said like children's book is what I titled mine, but
the idea was to take a challenge from a previous Right Guys month or week and to take a submission that had been written by anyone ever that's on our website and to rewrite it as a children's story.
Yes. And loved the submissions as always, but these were fun. This actually ended up being a more difficult challenge than I thought it was going to be. I honestly, when I threw it out there, I was like, all right, this will be a cakewalk, easy peasy.
Yeah, it's tough writing children's stories, especially when you've never written a children's story before and you don't actually know what it means, come to think of it.
Yeah. So, all right. Do you want to start with, why don't you pick one and read it?
Okay. I'll go ahead and start with Tim's.
Okay.
Which Tim decided to rewrite Sky's Mario romance story, which was like a pretty offensive and graphic, like porn.
Yeah. We could just say straight up porn.
So
to
Tim
rewrite this as a
rewrote this
kid's
as
story.
a children's story, and it is like this belongs in a new tier of like the Right Guys Hall of Fame. Like there's a special place for this story at the crescendo at the end of the Hall of Fame. I'm gonna read this here. Please enjoy this.
All right, let's go.
Mario Sr. slipped silently out the back door of the banquet hall. The corridors echoed with celebration. Wahoo, Mario Sr. said quietly to himself with a wistful sigh. Once upon a time, those cheers would have been for him. No more. Used to be that he couldn't walk anywhere in the kingdom without people stopping and staring and pointing at him in awe. Mario Sr. took off his hat, running his fingers through wisps of gray hair. No more. The stable door opened, a toad walking in, eyeing him. Mario's heart skipped a beat, happy to see an old friend. Hello. Oh, Mario Sr. cut off, cheeks red with embarrassment. It was not Toad. Toad had red spots, not blue. Mario rushed out the door. Mario walked up to Yoshi, untying his reins. He thought about trying to triple jump onto his trusty old steed, grimaced as his back tensed up at the mere thought of it. Shaking his head, Mario Sr. went looking for a stool. He wished that he had brought some mushrooms with him. At least then he would be tall enough to mount Yoshi properly. But his cousin, Dr. Mario, had... Wait. His cousin, Dr. Mario. That's amazing. I'd warned him about overusing such things. Like too much sugar or too much chocolate, eating too many mushrooms would ruin his dinner and hurt his body in the long run. The last time he had tried the mega mushroom, his torso grew 3 times in size, horizontally. His legs and head were unaffected, leaving him trapped as a blue-faced ball of disappointment. He was stuck like that for over 4 hours. Dr. Mario called it vertical dysfunction. Mario Sr. tottered on top of a stool and mounted Yoshi. Why does it keep saying he mounted? With an aching creak of his limbs, they trotted towards home. The bumpy ride reminded Mario of better days. He had visited Daisy and Peach often this way, one bag full of his special mushrooms. He had mushrooms for every occasion, ones that made him big, ones that made him small. This helped him to clean out gunk stuck in Peach's plumbing or soot staining Daisy's chimney that other plumbers and chimney sweeps wouldn't dare touch. He even had mushrooms that would take them to far-off worlds. But as time went on, Daisy and Peach had less and less time for him. Peach had a mushroom kingdom to run, and Daisy was busy attending to her garden of flowers. They had become queens, busy with regal business. The 3 of them couldn't frolic like in their youth. The warp pipes that had connected the kingdoms years ago had grown dry and stale without use. Lakitu's cloud service made them obsolete. Perhaps I can stop by Birdo's, Mario thought, starting to salivate at the memory of her delicious egg and linguine recipe. He choked on a rogue thread of saliva, coughing profusely. Just thinking of the food was a danger to his health, much less eating it. Mario Sr. shook his head. Getting old was a lonely business. He parked outside of his house, stepping off onto a hay bale that he used as a stool. He tied Yoshi to a fence post, frowning as his eyes saw a row of dark brown earth cutting a line through the meadow of his house. Once glimmering pipes sat together in a mix of dust and bits of stray straw. He couldn't lay a single pipe these days. He turned away from the trough and walked to the door of his cottage. He stopped, one hand on the doorknob, a great sadness washing over him. He didn't want to be alone, but everyone was busy with Mario Jr.'s victory party. Except, Mario looked over at his barn again. A Koopa dazed in the upper eaves, one bubble of snot expanding and contracting in the rhythms of sleep. Mario Sr. walked to the guest house in the backyard. He knocked on the door. A high-pitched, muffled Italian voice answered him. "Hello, it's me, Mario," he whispered hoarsely. "Mamma mia, back so soon," the voice replied through garble. Wait, sorry. "Mamma mia, back so soon," the voice replied through garble. Mario opened the door, stepping inside. "I thought maybe you could use some Mario time." "Okie dokie," Luigi said, looking up at Mario as he entered.
That voice is perfect.
Tubing connected the thin, frail skeleton that was Luigi to a tank of oxygen. Luigi pointed to the television. A familiar refrain blared from the speakers. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Boom, 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 boom. Mario sat on the couch next to Luigi as coins pinged in the background. "Here we go," the two brothers said in unison. The two brothers picked up a pair of oblong controllers from the tabletop, old hands quivering, then stilling as the familiar weight and feel of the gamepad settled in their palms. It started to play, fuzzy blocks shuffling across the screen. Mario smiled for the first time that day. There's no place like home.
Oh, man.
It's so good. And he really brings it back to the heart of what Mario is all about.
Yeah.
Like, which Sky didn't even the original wasn't
so
even,
yeah, like, at one hand he'd completely diffused the adult content from Sky's story, and then like you said, brought it back to the heart. And I love that they came back to play Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
I thought that was so cool.
It just felt so fitting, so like thematically poignant. Like it felt like it was really like he captured what Mario is about in the story. Yeah, and that's like kind of cool.
Yeah. As far as like sitting down and reading this to a bunch of kids, though, I don't know if they'd just be like sad. Like,
okay,
so what's gonna happen to Mario? It's like, well, Luigi's hooked up to an oxygen tank. There's no more pipes in the valley.
It's definitely a contemplative piece.
Yeah. Think about this next time you play Mario Brothers. Oh, well done, Tim.
Yeah,
that was
amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I am gonna read. I'm gonna read Shannon's. So Shannon took Anna's challenge from number 8, which was the romance one, Rom Bomb, and took her story, Safety Romance, and wrote it as a children's story.
Yeah,
which was definitely a tall order that I think she absolutely blew out of the water.
It's definitely like it was sensitive content warning, you know. Like
yes.
That one was it was definitely had some strong graphic themes. So strong adult themes. So.
A wonderful story, not a children's story, but a very important story. And I feel like Shannon made it a kid's story with still retaining like a strong value to it. Yeah. So this is called Balloon Girl. My troubles try to weigh me down. They hide and wait and scare. So when my troubles come for me, I fill myself with air. Instead of letting scary things run up too close to me, my toes get light, my feet take flight. I say goodbye to gravity. First my shoes will leave the grass, then rooftops are in reach. I look down at my troubles, and my troubles start to shrink. Soon the tallest treetops look like broccoli on my plate. The clouds float by, but so do I, a breeze blows me away. Higher and higher, balloon girl floats over houses and mountains and trees. Not just the troubles, but everything's gone. Everything's gone but the breeze. Thank goodness a friend has a grip of a ribbon attached to my toe. He tied it real tight long before I took flight and watches me from down below. Floating away from the troubles seems fine, but people belong on the ground. So be sure if you're planning on flying away, you've got someone to tug you back down.
So good.
Man, like I read that like multiple times when I was reading that the first time. I was like, oh yeah. Like, and then thinking about this as being like something you would want to like a lesson you'd want a kid to know, but it also kind of meets you where you're at. Like sometimes it feels good to detach, but we really belong on the ground to deal with these things, you know, like that's, and you need to have friends.
Shannon just has such a strong control over that tone for children's story writing. I think like she really nails that, like the sort of simple rhyme structure, like almost nursery rhyme structure that feels like at the same time as it's very like basic because it's like hemmed into like very like specific rules. It's also like very free at the same time. There's a lot of like playing like with expanding and contracting lines of different lengths, like exaggerating things the way that a kid would, and like it's sort of just feeling like it is in that like very playful tone the whole time.
Yeah, really good understanding of audience. And that was something that I thought was that I really enjoyed on this was, you know, saying like write a kid story. You know, you're thinking basically anything that's not an adult, you know, and so you could think like young adult in there. You could think like it could be like basic board book stuff, like little golden books and stuff, you know, like it could be like very early development, small, like very simple words and stuff like that. Or it could be like Shel Silverstein-ish, like poems and everything. But it was kind of a pretty broad stroke of a challenge. And to see, I think everyone who sent one in sent in a totally different style, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shannon.
Yeah.
Just, and for the sake of time here, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to run right through. We got Anna's, and this is the last one we've had as a submission. So after that, it will just be
let's go
yours and mine. This is The Curse of the Were-Nun. The bonfire crackled and sent flames soaring high into the sky as me and the other kids in summer camp unwound at the end of a long day. The fire flickered, casting a ghoulish light on the face of Ben, one of our camp counselors. After dark, Ben would always tell us spooky stories, the kind that had me and my friends checking the shadows for monsters and freezing at the sound of every cracking twig in case something was stalking us as we scuttled back to our cabins late at night. In spite of that, or maybe because of it, Ben was always our favorite camp counselor, and tonight was no exception. We leaned into the campfire light raptly as he spun another spine-chilling tale, The Curse of the Were-Nun. Once, long, long ago, in the graveyard of a German nunnery filled with shadows as jagged as monsters' teeth. Ben was such a drama kid. We loved it. We all leaned in further. A lone man named Lorenzo was a walk-in, his mind bent on a single purpose. His wife was gravely ill, cursed by a wicked warlock. But he had a secret, something he had discovered after long studies in the arts of magic. An amulet shaped like the sun that would catch and trap curses. According to his research, this amulet was owned by a German nun named Wilhelmina, who lived in that very nunnery. And so he had traveled a long way to find the amulet and break the curse. Before long, he caught sight of a lone woman standing among the headstones, that very Wilhelmina. He saw the amulet sparkling on her chest and ran towards her. "Sister Wilhelmina, is that you?" Lorenzo asked. "That necklace around your neck, it is more than just jewelry. It is a curse catcher. My wife is gravely ill," and as Lorenzo trailed off, he showed her the sketch he had copied from an ancient book of magic. It matched the amulet around her neck perfectly. Sister Wilhelmina looked up, and her face was full of fear. "Go back and speak of this to no one," the nun whispered. "But I must have the amulet," Lorenzo whined. Before the nun could fight back, he grabbed her necklace and ripped it off her, and then... We were all ears. Ben was animated as he narrated the next creepy chapter of this tale. Her eyes turned to slits, her hair to fur, and her fingernails into long, sharp, deadly claws. She let out a howl, and before Lorenzo stood a werewolf, the Were-Nun. One of the smaller girls screamed, and then, with a slash and a bite, she finished the poor soul off and ate him up. Well, most of him, anyway. The kids all cringed with disgust. The bits she left, she... Buried in a hole, she clawed into the soggy ground. With the amulet returned to her neck, she slowly regained her human form. She finished the burial with a shovel. And there was no trace of the unfortunate Lorenzo, and the secret of the Were-Nun was safe. We all shivered in the dark and checked over our shoulders to make extra sure no werewolves were creeping in the woods, waiting to gobble us up and bury us with shovels. "What's the moral of the story?" One kid piped up. "There is no moral, stupid. It's just a story," an older boy snapped back. "Oh, there is," said Ben, savoring every word. "The moral of the story is, never steal a woman's jewelry." He grinned a wicked but friendly grin and winked. "Good night, kids." Thank you,
That was
Anna.
great. Yes. I love the take of turning it into telling
Yes.
a campfire story.
I've been immortalized in a right submission here.
Yes.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Yes, you had a good one too. You were immortalized in a limerick too.
That's true.
Don't get a big head about this stuff, Ben. I'm sorry to worry about you. Okay, I'm gonna go next. I have uploaded mine to the docs if you want to read along, Ben.
Yep.
Okay.
Got it.
So I took Ben's submission from Cook a Book. What was it? It was Simon's
Simon Belligan's intergalactic pancake mix.
Yes. Okay. So I took Simon Belligan's intergalactic pancake mix and wrote it into a children's story. So it really hits hardest if you go back and read Ben's and then read this one, but I'm just going to dive in. This is called Don't Make Pancakes with Simon. Don't make pancakes with Simon. He says you'll have fun, but he's lying. Trust me, I know. It felt like my soul got mixed in the bowl. It was frightening. First there were bubbles that spoke something muddled. He told me to translate was trouble. Then once on the stove, our first cake did go. I blinked and woke up befuddled. A being so grand in a shadowy land now towered for me in my pan. I burst into yelling with fear in my belly and blinked back to smells of a deli. My kitchen now reeked of mayonnaise and meat, so I took my pancake off the heat. But Simon pressed on, his instructions still long between me and when I could eat. The next cake was cooking not long before looking like it could be much like the last. But my mouth started tingling. The next thing I'm mingling with a lady all dressed up in black. I tried telling a joke, but in the middle I choked, forgetting the very best part. So she scowled and turned. I knew I'd been spurned, then woke up feeling like an old fart. 2 days had now passed while cooking breakfast, and my hunger felt too much to bear. But Simon persisted. The last, he insisted, was a pancake without any snares. A regular one, just flip it and done. So I dropped it in and turned to run. But it cooked with ease, so I buttered and squeezed maple syrup on everyone. Then I finally ate, but too fast and too late. Those cakes gave me a tummy ache. So next time you're trying to make breakfast exciting, remember this story I'm rhyming. Go with the ease of ordering a pizza. Just don't make pancakes with Simon.
It's so good. It's like, yeah. Don't make pancakes with Simon. It reminds me of don't like give a pig a pancake.
Yeah, there's a new one out. There's a new kids book out that's like killing it called "Don't Let the Duck Drive the Bus."
Mm-hmm.
But this one to me was like total throwbacks to I was obsessed with Shel Silverstein, so I was imagining it like Shel Silverstein with all the doodles around it and everything.
Yeah, that's so good. I love it. Yeah, I mean, I forget so much of like the actual like trials that it's forcing you to go through, but I'm assuming that you're interacting with those in some way, like choking on telling a joke and something.
Yeah. So in the second pancake, she's measuring his charisma.
Yeah.
So he tries telling a joke, but he loses, and the consequence is getting filled with the energy of Dr. Phil. So he woke up feeling like an old fart.
Got it. Yeah, that's great.
And the first one was if you showed courage, you would get the boon, and then if you showed fear, you'd get the curse. And the curse was that your pancakes would smell of Subway sandwiches.
Yeah, that's great. The mayonnaise and meat. Yeah, it's perfect. Blink back to smells of a deli. It's so good.
All right, dude. You're immortalized thrice.
Thank you, dude. That's quite an honor. And the one that I did was also one that we both have been immortalized in.
Oh, yes.
Actually, so if you just want to go to the email, I emailed it to us in there. All right. So this is called My Evil Podcast. It's not easy starting a podcast. Frowny face. 1 year ago, I was invited across the country to meet a real-life giant. The giant's main job was screaming, but in his spare time, he wanted to start a podcast with me. I did not have a job at all, not even screaming, so this was an easy decision for me, as well as a great opportunity. I packed my things and flew to Texas for a week to record the first episode. Every day we argued with our gear. The cameras told us, we can't go for more than 30 minutes at a time, and wouldn't broadcast as a webcam on our mobile device. The mics were only compatible with Windows 95, and I couldn't keep my face at proper distance from them, even if I tried. The problems were endless. We fought through it and recorded one episode, but the audio cut out halfway through, so it was unusable. By now, the giant and I were certain that supernatural powers were in play. Hidden forces conspired against our goals. We knew that if we were ever going to get this thing off the ground, it would mean getting our hands dirty with magics of our own. So we brew a fresh new ritual to stew you every month. We write a prompt. It fills your thoughts until they're ripe and plump. Then you go to harvest, and you reap what we have sown. And we make you stand in line before you bring them to the throne. We'll call them writing challenges. This could work. The giant rubbed his hands together with a greasy grin. Indeed, and that's not to mention how easy it all would have been if it weren't for that meddling Cerebus the Usurper.
Oh.
Or Tim.
Oh, man, that was so fun.
Yeah, so that's based on Tim's Write Guys, like RITE Guys writing submission he did for challenge number 9, I think it was.
Yes.
Which was Roll a Roll. And he wrote like this weird abstract thing about me and Micah's podcast actually being like an evil ritual to our vanity and idolatry based on writing prompts and challenges that we are forcing people to use their creative energy on. It's a fun little concept, and so I kind of just thought, what if it was true?
Yeah, I love the perspective of just this looming evil giant. It's like, yes.
Yeah. Giant's main job was screaming.
Yeah, that's what giants do. They just
You're a real life caricature.
A screaming giant. I'll take it.
It's wonderful.
Oh, it's so fun.
But we should, timing wise, intro the next challenge.
Yes, that's what I was about to do. So The next challenge. So, hey, thank you everybody for
Thanks so
those.
much,
That was
guys.
awesome. And if you're just hearing this episode for the first time, dive in and go do that challenge. You know, like any of these. I hope that people that are coming onto the podcast later dig back and start doing these challenges. And if you ever want to get them read and get our feedback or something, feel free to submit them too. You don't have to just submit them within the time frames of that challenge.
It's true.
But anyway, so without further ado, we need to wrap this baby up. And the next challenge is going to be called Wordsmith.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's a good one.
Yeah. So your challenge is to create a word.
Make it
not
up yourself.
Yeah.
Don't
yeah.
just
not
write any word and say that you created it.
just create a word and then use it in a 50-word story, a 50-word fantasy, if you will. Well, I mean, because I don't want you, don't like make like a name of a town. I'm talking like make a word
Not
that
a
you
proper
could use.
noun, like a verb or like a noun, part of speech, anything
Yeah.
that's going to be in that story. And you got to really work it in there good.
Yeah, but convince us, like like Shakespeare. How many words they say that he invented?
At least
Like-
5.
Like
And this
ambulance
does-
was one of them, and so is
man,
assassin.
ambulance, assassin, silhouette, champion, double.
Boom, double. Come on, we
All
need to get on that
Shakespeare
level. Let's start making some words. Yeah, and then I've actually come up with a few words on my own through my time with O Sleeper, and we're gonna do a lyrical deep dive next episode and dig into that a little bit as well. But
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
that's what we got. So 50-word fantasy, create a word, wordsmith, and who knows, maybe we all start using that word because it's that good.
Yeah, I'm excited for that challenge.
Yeah.
Micah, it was so good doing this episode with you. I wish that we had more
So
time.
good. Me too. I just want to hang.
Guys, right guys, we love you. We'll see you in a few weeks. Please
Yes.
stay safe, keep writing, and have a good time.
Yes, come hang out in the Discord too.
Yes, we love you. Goodbye.
We love you. Bye.